to the Mr. Unknown Ash'ari boy. I got a surprise for you. Do you know that the one who says God existed without place is the Jewish philo, the philosopher, those who have the same way of Aristotle? Look, I have documented it to you from Wikipedia, which put analysis about their methodology. Among the things they believe in before the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, that Allah should not be affected by. Look at the document. They say, God existed neither in time nor space and had no human attributes or emotions. And he does not change. He cannot change. We found for you the source. We succeeded in finding for you the source of your doctrine. God existed without place. But you failed to prove to us from the first praised generations, al-Qurun al-Thalath al-Ula, Quran, Sunnah, Sahaba, Tabi'een, Tabi'i, Tabi'een, you failed to prove to us that one of those early three generations had ever noted that Allah, God, is existed without place. We succeeded, you failed. And we succeeded, by the way, to prove to you that Allah is over His throne, as the Quran mentioned, and all the Salaf stressed. And it is sufficient for every Muslim to read the book Khalq Af'al al-Ibad, and you'll find what I'm talking about. They were fighting Jahmiyyah, the Salaf of this young Ash'ari boy, who used to believe that Allah is not up. And this is a doctrine of this boy, that Allah is not up. Assalamu alaikum. This guy, whom you have heard his voice, who speaks like this, Allah, I don't know what kind of person is that. He doesn't let you know what's his name. Hidden, like the hidden Imam of the Shia. Now, let's come to the topic. He says that Allah exists without place. Now, the word exists, that means He brings things in existence. He exists. You know why He doesn't say He is existed? Because He knows He's going to be asked, who existed Him? See? He mistranslates the Arabic word mawjoodun bila makan. He is existed without place. But when I put them in trouble, and I said to them, if He is existed, who brought Him to existence? They were stuck. But to twist the word mawjood, to make it yujid, exists. So that's why he said He exists. He exists, that means He creates. You should take it from where it was originated, from the Arabic word of the Ash'aris, the Jahmis. He is existed without place. Mawjood. Look, it's always in the Ash'ari websites, they use the term mawjood. He is existed. That's number one. Number two, look, for example, the teacher enters the class and asks, is the student present? Mawjood. He doesn't say in English, is the student exists? This is not used in English. So the retranslation is, mawjoodun bila makan, existed without place. The one who has existed without place, he has no existence. And this term, mawjoodun bila makan, it was set, designed to oppose the ayah in the Quran, Ar-Rahmanu ala al-arshi istawa, the merciful one, elevated, mounted over His throne. They want to divert people from believing this in the Quran. Okay, you want to tell us that God is existed without place. Okay, now there's a place. And the name of that place is throne. And Allah is over it.
This hadith, it was narrated by Al-Imam Al-Bukhari in his Sahih.
The narration is in Sahih Bukhari, that's correct. Allah was while there was nothing other than Him. That's what He chose. Pick and choose. You know why I say pick and choose? Because the same narration has a problem. It says, Allah was while there was nothing other than Him, and His throne was on the water. If you choose this, it's up to you. But you'll be caught with contradiction. Because there is a slight mistake by the narrator. It was narrated by another one, attendant to Imran ibn Hussein, with this. Allah was while there was nothing before Him. Here there is no contradiction. But the one you picked, you chose, Mr. Pick and Choose, will lead you to fall in a trouble, in a contradiction. It's up to you. You know, they say that Salafis have no mind to think. That shows the reality. Whose mind is blocked?
This hadith, it was narrated by Al-Imam Al-Bukhari in his Sahih. The Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wassalam, he mentioned, كان الله ولم يكن شيء غيره.
The same hadith you're quoting has problem. The hadith was narrated by Imran ibn Hussein, and there are 3 attendants of Imran who narrated it differently. 1, كان الله ولم يكن شيء غيره. Allah was while there was nothing other than Him. But the same hadith says, and His throne was over the water. Why don't you bring this? So this way of narration, which says while there was no one other than Him, it wasn't narrated accurately, and it has a problem. How come there was nothing other than Him while the same hadith affirms that at that time there was a throne and water? The second attendant, he narrated it as وَلَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْءٌ مَعَهُ, and he was while there was nothing with him. So a Christian will come and say, there's a contradiction here. How it says there's nothing with him, there's nothing other than him, while it says the same hadith, and his throne was over the water. What about the third attendant? The third attendant narrated it correctly. كان الله ولم يكن شيء قبله. Allah was while there was nothing before Him. And this goes in accordance with the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. أنت الأول فليس قبلك شيء. You are the first while there was nothing before you. Now, let's get into this hadith. Allah was while there was nothing before Him, and His throne was over the water. He's talking now about this world which Allah created, heavens and earth, while there was creation before that. Before creating the heavens and the earth, the evidence, there was throne and water. So he's talking about this universe. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has many universes, not only one universe.
The scholars of Islam, they explained that the correct belief in Allah is that Allah exists without being in a place.
This is a mere lie. He's talking about the scholars of Jahmiyyah. But the scholars of the Salaf, no. Imam Malik, he said, Allah is in as-sama, and His knowledge is in everywhere. No place can be exempted from His knowledge. That was narrated by Imam Ahmad in his book Al-Ilal. Al-Bukhari, he narrated that Abdullah bin Mubarak was asked, how do we know our God? He said, we know him that he is over 7 skies, over his throne. This is how we know him. That's narrated by Al-Bukhari in his book Khalq Af'al al-Ibad. This is the belief of the scholars. Let's continue. All of this shows that Bukhari was Salafi in his doctrine.
This belief, this particular belief, it's taken from Al-Quran wa Sunnah. The Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wassalam, he mentioned, كان الله ولم يكن شيء غيره, which means Allah existed eternally. That is, Allah existed and the existence of Allah does not have a beginning. Allah existed eternally without a beginning and there was nothing other than Him.
My dear unknown brother, why don't you read completely the text, not cutting it? Don't you see? It says right after that, Allah was while there was nothing else. Right after that, it continues, and His throne was over the water. So the text affirms that when Allah was and there was nothing else, there was throne and water. That's why this word between brackets, else, it has a contradiction because there was something else, the throne and the water. And the session is one. When the people of Yemen asked the Prophet, tell us about this world, that assembly was won by Imran ibn Hussein. So it can't be 2 sessions. It's 1 session of the Yemeni delegation. And we have 2 utterances. Allah was while there was nothing before Him, which is in Sahih Bukhari, and which is correct and uncontradictory and not contradictory. Or you take the other one, Allah was while there was nothing other than Him, but there was also a throne and water. Why don't you complete the sentence? Why do you cut? This is delusion, deception. Don't do that. Let's continue.
This hadith, it makes it very clear that Allah existed without a beginning. And there was no human, there was no jinn, there was no angel, there was no soul.
Good. Did you see him saying existed? Who existed him? Who brought him into existence? See, you claim that you are munazzih, that you elevate Allah far above human description. What about this? He is existed. Who existed him? See, now you're using the word existed. Gotcha. See, now you're describing Allah with a word that is not fit for His Majesty. It's used for the created being, for the existed creatures. You are using it to Allah. Allah is existed. Continue.
That Allah existed without a beginning, and there was no human, there was no jinn, there was no angel, there was no soul.
You know, even the mushrikeen, the pagans of Quraysh, they know this, that Allah has no beginning, that Allah is the greatest, that Allah is the creator, that everything other than Allah is created. You know, even Abu Jahl, he won't be minding listening to this from you. But the real problem of Abu Jahl was when he knows all of these attributes about Allah, he worships someone else, adding him to the worship supplication with Allah. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَإِذَا رَكِبُوا فِي الْفُلْكِ دَعْوُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ فَلَمَّا نَجَّاهُمْ إِلَى الْبَرِّ إِذَا هُمْ يُشْرِكُونَ. Whenever they join the ark, they supplicate Allah, making their supplication sincere to Him. That means when they are in trouble in the sea, waves like mountains, they supplicate Allah alone. But when Allah saves them to the land, they return to their paganism, shirk. This is the Tawheed. Not Allah was, and Allah was while there was nothing else. And Allah is not a body, and Allah's attributes should not be taken literally. They should be taken metaphorically. Is this the Tawheed? You're swerving, diverting people from the real Tawheed that caused a fight between Muhammad and the people of Quraysh. Let's continue.
There was no air, there was no earth, there was no sky, no stars, no sun, no moon.
What kind of Tawheed is this? There was no air, there was no gas, there was no water, there was... What kind of Tawheed is this? Astaghfirullah. Very strange, man.
No paradise, no hellfire. There was no creation. There was no place, no direction, no time. There was no directions, no above, no below, no left, no right, no in front, no behind. There was no father, no...
There was no direction, there was no place, there was no time. So what time the creation began? It began through a time. Wasn't there time? So the world began when there was a time. What kind of God you're trying to prove? You're complicating the matter of Tawheed. This is falsafa, philosophy. These are the teachings of the philosophers, Aristotle and Aflatun. You've been affected. You need a vaccine, Salafi vaccine, because you have been contaminated with the philosophy. Let's continue.
There was no direction, no above, no below, no left, no right, no in front, no behind. There was no father, no...
What kind of Tawheed is this? There was no direction, there was no up, no down. Okay. Then Allah created the throne, and He is over it, over the seven skies He created. He said it. Allah said it, not me. He said He created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and then He went up over His throne. ثم استوى على العرش. You don't want it. You know, Jahm, the establisher of your cult, he said, I wish I can have access to delete, to erase, to remove this ayah from the Quran. And you're always against it. Allah affirms for Himself a direction up. And the Prophet asked the concubine about where is Allah. Look, if Allah is in nowhere, why the Prophet asked the concubine, where is Allah? Good point. The Prophet doesn't speak nonsense, but your doctrine is nonsense. Because it's based on philosophy, ilmul kalam. And the Prophet, by the way, described the victorious, supported, helped cult or group that they are Ahlul Hadith, as Imam Ahmad said, and Bukhari said, Ahlul Hadith. Ibn Hajar admitted that it's authentically narrated by Ahmad that he said, if the Al-Firqa Al-Najiyah, the saved sect, if it's not Ahlul Hadith, I don't know who they are. Ibn Hajar says it's authentic. You are not Ahlul Hadith, you are Ahlul Kalam, Ahlul Falsafa. Your Imam Al-Razi, the Ash'ari Imam, He was calling Aflaton, the Greek pagan philosopher, he was calling him the Imam Aflaton, because this Razi, the Ash'ari, was drawn in philosophy. And you are the victims of that. Let's continue.
Sun, no spirit. There was no bodies, no colors, no creation. And Allah Ta'ala existed without a beginning. From this we know Allah existed. And
From this we know that Allah is existed. Thank you for saying existed, huh? Very good. Because you're making Allah existed. Who existed Him? You deserve to be put in trouble with that question. Because Allah did not say that He is mawjood. One of the names of Allah is Al-Wajid, the exister. And you call Allah the existed. Allah is Al-Wajid Al-Majid, not the mawjood, the existed. You're in trouble with your doctrine. This is the consequence of describing Allah by your own description, which should be including right and also wrong. So the best solution is to describe Allah by what He described Himself. None of His names is Al-Mawjood, they existed. You created this to avoid thereby what Allah described Himself, that He is over the throne, up apart from down, as your Imam Ash'ari said it, which put you in trouble. We have the right to ask you, who existed? Who existed Him? Who brought Him into existence?
does not need any of these things. Allah existed and these things did not apply to Allah. Rather, Allah is the creator of these creations. And so Allah existed without a beginning, without being inside any place. And Allah is the creator of the places and has no need for them.
But He told us that He is over His throne. And the Prophet said it. And all the Salaf. Ibn Rushd is a great scholar. In his book Manahij al-Adillah, he said all Muslims agreed that Allah has the direction of highness, al-ulu, until Mu'tazila came and they denied it. And they were followed by the Ash'aris. They imitated them in this, especially at the time of Juwayni, the Ash'ari leader, who died at 478 Hijri era. And all evidences of Islam through book and sunnah obliges the belief, based on the belief that Allah is up over His creatures. This refutes the claim of the unknown guy that all Muslims agreed that Allah has no place. Affirmed that Allah is over His throne, as Bukhari narrated from the Salaf scholars. That all agreed that Allah is over His throne. And they said, those Jahmis, it ended up with them that there is no God over the throne. And that's what you are leading people to believe in today. All right. So Allah was while there was no place. But He created the place. And He created the throne. And the throne is place, isn't it? Or it's a time. What is the throne? Isn't it place? And Allah said that He is over it. Do you have any problem with Allah being over His throne? You are Adami. You are the follower of nothingness. Because the best description of Adam, nothingness, is to say the nothingness is a thing that it has no place in, it has no place out. The fact is that those Ash'aris, they have evil thinking of their Lord. rebuking him within themselves, saying, "Oh Allah, why did you describe yourself that you are up, you have hands, and you come, and the angels come with you? Don't you know, Allah, that this requires, it leads to the consequences of belief that Allah is anthropomorphist, that Allah is body?" Inside, they say that. They are thinking badly about Allah. But outside, they're blaming you and saying you are bad. You are anthropomorphist because you should not describe Allah that He is up. You should not describe Allah that He has two hands. And I say to them, the blame is not on me. It should be on the one who described himself. You know what they say in themselves? We know how to describe you, O Allah, better than what you describe yourself. Yeah. They say in themselves, "O Allah, why did you describe yourself in troubling attributes that those Wahhabis are always substantiating it against us?" The other thing is that we need to ask those who say Allah is not inside the world, He's not outside the world. We say to them, when Allah created the universe, the heavens and the earth, did He create them in Himself or out of Himself? If they say in Himself, this is wahdat wujud, hulul, mixed existence, all in one, just like what the Sufis say. If they say, no, He created them out of Himself, that means this will be rebuttaling, diffusing their claim that Allah is neither inside the world nor outside of the world. By saying He created them out of Himself, they have affirmed the place to Allah then. Good point. They cannot get out of it. They cannot give an answer to it. This is the punishment of those who take the rules of the Greek philosophy, intercepting, contradicting the book of Allah and the sunnah of His Prophet ﷺ because of these rules. They want the book of Allah and the sunnah of the Prophet to come submissive to the philosophic rulings. Otherwise, the good solution, metaphor, majaz. But your scholars agreed that majaz is uncertain, indefinite, unconfirmed. Look what Ibn Hajar said. وَلَيْسَ مَنْ سَلَكَ طَرِيقَ الْخَلَفِ واثقا بأن الذي يتأوله هو المراد. The one who followed the way of the Khalaf, not the Salaf, can never be certain that the ta'wil he gives is pleased. It's been meant by Allah. ولا يمكنه القطع بصحة تأويله. And he cannot say that, yes, my ta'wil is absolute. He cannot. Where did he say that? Fath al-Bari, volume 13, page 352. Ghazali, in his book Al-Mustasfa, he said, ta'wil is uncertain, muhtamal, is possible. They have nothing. So why do you oblige us to take your metaphor when at the same time you believe that it's uncertain? Everything is contradictory with the Ash'aris. Goodbye. And you are following the nothingness, calling the nothing God. I'm not oppressing you. I'm not oppressing you. This is what it leads of what you say. There is no place, and then he created the place, and there was no time, but there's a time when Allah created the things. There was a time. So the creation began in a time. So there was time, and time inside time. Why don't you eat thyme? Let's continue.
If we were to ask, who created place? The answer would be Allah. Allah revealed in the Quran, in Surah Al-Furqan, in the second verse, وَخَلَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ, which means Allah created everything.
Is this the belief that we need to know? Yes, it's true. But the fight between the Prophet and the people of Jahiliyyah is not about that. Allah said also in the Quran, if you ever ask them, the pagans of Quraysh, Mecca, who created the heavens and the earth, they will surely be saying to you, it is Allah. Isn't it true, Mr. Unknown? It is Allah who created the universe. They'll be saying that. They have no problem with this, but they have problem of taking partners with Allah, such as you Ash'aris, you Maturidis, you quote the hadith of the blind man. Now, Ya Muhammad, inni tawajjahtu bika ila Rabbi fi hajati hadhihi lituqda. Now, after the Prophet died, and he's not present, you're still calling him for your need. This is the paganism. If you do not stop the hadith of A'ma by what Umar said, oh Allah, when he had a famine and he was the caliph, he said, oh Allah, we used to be, when we have a famine, asking you through your Prophet, that means through his supplication, they go to him and say, oh Prophet, ask Allah for us to give us rain. If you do not link this with the hadith of Umar, you'll be falling in shirk, paganism.
और कह रहा हो अगीसनी या रसूल अल्लाह मेरी मदद फरमाएं.
So that doesn't help you to say that Allah created everything, there was no gas, there was no water, there was no electricity, there was no... That doesn't help. This is not the Tawheed. Tawheed is when you know that, you should worship Allah alone. When you know that He is the only creator, He should be the only one to be worshipped, not to supplicate the dead. As Allah said in Surah An-Nahl, وَالَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, as for those who are supplicating other than Allah, لَا يَخْلُقُونَ شَيْئًا وَهُمْ يُخْلَقُونَ. Those who have been supplicated, they neither create, but rather they are created. أَمْوَاتٌ غَيْرُ أَحْيَاء. They are dead, but not alive. وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ أَيَّانَ يُبْعَثُونَ. And they do not perceive when they will be resurrected. That means talking about dead people. They're going to say to you, oh no, he's talking about statues. No, statues will not be resurrected. Allah will not be resurrecting trees and stones. Those who are meant to be resurrected are those who have been worshipped while they were dead. And they'll be saying to the people who've been supplicating them while they were dead, فَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمْ. So Allah is sufficient as a witness between you and us. إِن كُنَّا عَنْ عِبَادَتِكُمْ لَغَافِلِينَ. We were surely unaware of your supplication and worship to us. That is the Tawheed. The Tawheed of those people, Allah, He created the water and the gas and the electricity while there was nothing like that. Allah created the mountains. That is Tawheed. This is not Tawheed. This type of Tawheed was carried by the pagans of Mecca. The proof? If you ever ask them who created the heavens and the earth, they will be surely saying to you, it is Allah. Continue, Mr. Unknown.
Everything in the creation, Allah is the creator of it. Place is a creation, and Allah is the creator of places.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, He says that He doesn't need the place. No, if He created the throne and He went over it, it doesn't mean He needs it. He doesn't need it. This is the art of mughalata, techniques of mughalata, illogical fallacy, mughalata, techniques. In order to deny what Allah described Himself, He doesn't need the throne. All right, Allah employed the angels for many missions. Doesn't mean Allah needs them. Allah can do what He ordered the angels to do, so He doesn't need them. Are you going to deny that Allah employs angels, claiming that He doesn't need them? That's fallacy. That's fallacy.
And if it was to be asked prior to the existence of place, did Allah exist? The answer would be yes. Allah exists without a place. Further to that,
Before further to that, Allah exists without a place, but now He told us that He created Al-Arsh, and in the Arsh there is kursi, a chair, and He's over it. And the chair is the position of 2 feet. And we have no problem with the feet, since we don't have problem with affirming Allah that He has 2 hands. Here's the evidence that the throne consists a chair which contains the position of 2 feet. Who said that? Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani in Fath al-Bari, he said, it is authentic. I see that you're nothing but misguided. Hadn't Allah told us that He went over the throne, we would have not been stressing that He's over the throne and refuting you. We're refuting you because you want to persuade people not to believe in what Allah described Himself, that He went over His throne. Are you going to tell us that this is metaphorical? You can't convince people. You can't impose people on taking your metaphor, especially when all of your scholars admitted that metaphor is a matter of possibility. It's not certain. So why do you persuade people, push people, oblige people to take what is uncertain, what is possible? Let's continue.
الحافظ الإمام أبو بكر أحمد البيهقي. الحافظ الإمام Abu Bakr Ahmad al-Bayhaqi, who is a scholar from around 1,000 years ago.
You know, he's giving him high, glorious characters, while al-Bayhaqi was Ash'ari. He was Ash'ari. But Ash'ari better than those Ash'aris, because al-Bayhaqi, he admitted that Allah is over His throne. He is over all His creatures. He said, because the book and the Sunnah uttered this. Look at the text by al-Bayhaqi. So he's glorifying now Bayhaqi in order to... Al-Bayhaqi will be disappointing you, because he said Allah is in the height in as-sama. It means that He is over His throne. And you guys believe that He is not over His throne. See? So I brought you evidences from Quran, from Sunnah, even from your Ash'ari, early Ash'ari Imam. But you will not be believing. But you'll be refused all. But you're refusing all because you are agenda. And the evidence that you're agenda, you're not telling anyone what's your name.
He mentioned in his book Al-Asma' was-Sifat. He said, واستدل بعض أصحابنا في نفي المكان عنه أي عن الله بقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنت الظاهر فليس فوقك شيء وأنت الباطن فليس دونك شيء فإذا لم يكن فوقه شيء ولا دونه شيء لم يكن في مكان.
But Allah affirmed the place for Himself, saying that He is over the throne. La, we don't want Allah. We want Bayhaqi. But the Prophet asked the concubine, where is Allah? You can't ask where for someone who has no place. The Prophet said, where is Allah? She said, He is in the height as-sama. So he said, she is a believer. No, we don't want Rasulullah. No, we want Bayhaqi. But we love to celebrate his birthday because we love him too much. But we cry him lie when he said that he is up. Allahu Akbar. Who's the contradictory? You. You are intiqai, selective. You trust what Allah said, that He is over the throne. You trust what the Prophet said, that Allah is in as-sama. You trust Allah and His Messenger, and you picked Bukhari, and you picked Bayhaqi, the Ash'ari, who said that the meaning of Allah istawa, it means He is over, He is in as-sama. That's the meaning of Allah istawa over the arsh. Saying some of our colleagues cited this ayah, هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن. That means not all of them, some of them. Some of the Ash'aris. And he may not be one of them. Do you know why? Because he said Allah is in as-sama, which means Allah is over His throne. So it doesn't mean that, doesn't seem that Al-Bayhaqi is one of them. Especially when he quoted Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari himself, the Imam of the Madhab. Look what he's saying. And my answer concerning this, that Allah is mustawin ala arshihi, He is above His throne, وأنه فوق الأشياء. Allahu Akbar. Watch it. Al-Asma' wal-Sifat. Second volume, page 302. He's saying to you that Al-Ash'ari said Allah is over all things. That's the meaning of istawa ala al-arsh. He continues. That means it doesn't get in Him and He doesn't get in it. He's over it. So he's not talking about highness of honor, because he's saying it does not get into Him, He doesn't get into it. And also it says, لا يمسها, and He doesn't touch it. So he's not talking about highness of honor. He's talking about real, not metaphoric, real highness over the throne. See your contradictions? Allahu Akbar. I'm not going to leave you, all of those agenda who are employed to tackle and attack offensively the Ahlul Hadith. Let's continue. So by the way, you left Allah, who said استوى على العرش أأمنتم من في السماء. No, we don't want Allah. What about the Prophet? Why? Because he said to the Jariyah, because he questioned the Jariyah, where's Allah? She said, He is in as-sama. He said, she's a believer. Forget it. Let's go to Al-Bayhaqi and substantiate what he said. Some of our colleagues, they denied that Allah is in as-sama. So those are the evidence. Not Allah, not His Messenger, not Al-Bukhari, who quoted all of his scholars and sheikhs, who are the Salafi scholars who refuted the Jahmiyyah. He quoted them saying, the one who does not believe that Allah is over His throne, he is kafir. What about you? Why the Jariyah became mu'min, believer, and why you do not? That is why Yusuf ibn Muhammad, the Shaykh of Bukhari, he accused those who deny that Allah is up over His throne, that they are kafir. Yalla. Are you going to call the Shaykh of Bukhari takfiri? And by the way, Al-Bukhari approved. He narrated the narration of Yusuf bin Muhammad to show his approval and belief that yes, Allah is over His throne. Then, so you ran away from Allah, from His Messenger, from Bukhari, and you stick to the contradictory statement of Bayhaqi. It's not contradictory because Al-Bayhaqi picked the belief that Allah is in as-sama. That means He is over the throne. This is the meaning of Allah in as-sama with Bayhaqi. Look at the document, it's very clear. Allahu Akbar. You have nothing. Alhamdulillah, I have hammered you and your Ash'ari guys. Let's continue.